I'm about to cyberbully again.
Yes, you are totally right about that, Sean C., my very good friend. Time to make a part 2 to my infamous video where I criticize another YouTuber's infamous video about a video game that I really like. A video that got quite the mixed reception. Now, when I first checked how the reception of my video turned out and saw the significant amount of dislikes compared to likes, I'm not gonna lie, that kind of hurt my soul a bit. But then I quickly recovered because I quickly realized that I should have seen this coming from a mile away. Simply Dad has a bigger White Knight fanbase than I do with my measly single-digit subscribers since this is my first video on this channel. Not only that, but there were a couple of people that were pretty supportive, excluding my own family members, in the comment section that gave me praise as well as some valid criticism of my last video, which I am totally grateful for. When I first dropped the video, I specifically stated and pinned a comment saying to watch the whole video before you comment something dumb. The day after I uploaded the video, I received an email saying that somebody commented on my last video, which made me ecstatic at first. So I was rushing all the way back to YouTube, curious to see if maybe Simply Dad himself responded, or maybe another SMT YouTuber that I actually liked instead. Just anything other than this really stupid comment made by some wise guy that may or may not be a troll. Who knows? And honestly, who cares? That snarkily comments, "Imagine creating a channel because someone didn't like a game." Aww. Man, is Simply Dad sure it's Persona fans who can't read, or people in his own fan base? This is a point that I want to address to all you Simply Dad stans that try to make up this mostly false narrative and keep having the assumption that the reason that so many people dislike his content and make so many videos constantly criticizing some dumb shit that he says before I continue from where I left off from last time. While I don't deny that some people may dislike Simply Dad because he has an opposing opinion, the main reason why me and so many others don't really like some of his content is not because of the opinions themselves, but the statements that he uses to defend his opinions when he even attempts to give a reason in the first place. I know that with me saying that, most of you guys won't believe me anyway, since none of you guys have access to my brain. Those of you who have taken speech in college will know that no matter how well you make your argument or how much it logically makes sense, you won't be able to convince everybody no matter how hard you try, which is why you must find a target audience that shares similar views to you in terms of their first impression and overall opinion of watching his video to share your message to. Like these guys or gals, and my siblings. Love you all, by the way. Also, I would like to say that if you genuinely think that the reason that I dislike Simply Dad's video on Persona 3 is because he doesn't like the game and has a different opinion, then you're most likely fucking stupid. Persona 3 has been divisive since the age of the dinosaurs. While I would like to say that a little bit more people love it than hate it, it's still not as divisive as a game like Persona 4 or even SMT4 Apocalypse. I even criticized the game's use of non-controllable party RPG gameplay, so I'm very aware of the fact that this game is totally not for everyone, since I'm pretty sure most RPG fans favor a more strategic gameplay style with a little luck elements, than a heavily luck-based one with relying on the AI. If somebody didn't like Persona 3 because of the combat or anything wrong with the story, like some of the cringy dialogue or something else, and preferred to play something like SMT or any other Persona games, then that is totally fine. But when somebody makes a video about a game that I care about and get information constantly wrong or have inconsistent points about certain things, whether the intention is to be positive, like with the section about the non-controllable party combat, or negative, like the section about the game's pacing, of course I'm going to make a video criticizing his, whether he liked the game or not, especially when the videos that were made to attempt the same thing that I was trying to do's quality was pretty poor to say the least. No offense. Not that I'm trying to say that mine is any better or anything. I irate my listeners at least once every 5 minutes. I'm pretty sure that there are tons of other reviews of Persona 3 that are probably just as bad or maybe even worse in my opinion, I may add, but it's the internet so who cares, out there. But most of those are old and irrelevant, and this video is fairly new and is making kind of a splash online, with even Reddit articles being created about it due to its controversy. You know what I also don't get about not just Simply Dad stands, but most people who use this argument in general? People say stuff like this, but they don't even realize that this same type of logic can just as well be applied to them and their Lord and Savior Simply Dad as well. What if I made a comment on Simply Dad's video saying something like, "Imagine creating a 36-minute video just because you didn't like the design of a game that Atlas wanted to create?" Or even, "Imagine creating a stupid ass comment on my video just because you disagree with my opinion?" Guess what? I didn't. because that's stupid. And I bet the person who wrote that comment and is most likely watching this as a Simply Dad white knight thinks that that philosophy is stupid and should also feel very stupid for trying to apply that same philosophy to my last video. The whole point that I'm trying to get across here also is that just because something in the media, whether that be a video, a book, or even a song, is based on somebody's opinion or opinion based in general, it doesn't mean that it gets a get free from criticism card or absolutely can't be criticized. Prime example, let's bring it all the way back to December 27th, 2018, when Simply Dad dropped what could be his worst received video yet. Yeah, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. His infamous video about quote unquote terrible channels, a video where he attempts, keyword attempts, to both criticize and take a shit on multiple other YouTubers, such as Benji, Scrubby, Memulus, and a few others. When this video released, it was flooded with both hate and criticism, and rightfully so. The points that he used in his video to prove his point were atrocious, and there was video on top of video just pointing out every single flaw and nonsensical thing that was said in the video, and basically in short calling him a hypocrite, which actually made me and some other people seriously consider, is this guy just trolling, or does he genuinely act this dumb? And if you thought that my like to dislike ratio on my last video was bad, let's not even talk about the like to dislike ratio, because his lightsaber was looking really tiny, bruh. Like, yikes.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding.
Oh, in the comments? Oh, don't even let me get started on the comments. Oh my gosh. They were chewing this man up in the comment section, comparing him to both Jake and Logan Paul, which I personally disagree with, because to be fair, these are people who have done real life shitty things, and Simply Dad is just someone who makes nonsensical videos on the internet. But the comment was still kind of savage regardless, saying he should have added himself on the list. They even had Wendy's coming for this man's neck. Well, now that I look back at it, it's not that surprising, and it's just a random person impersonating Wendy's for some reason. Okay, it's just like how some people do with the FBI, and so on and so forth. And I'm already knowing that some of you guys are going to be typing in the comments, well, Giraffe Boy, he may have made a mistake in his video, or made bad points, but that doesn't excuse people being mean to him. Simply Dad is an asshole to almost everyone that doesn't write his cock in the comment section. Even when Scrubby agreed to his negative comments about him in his video and got pretty personal with his response, if I might add, Simply Dad doubled down and continued to be an asshole and didn't even apologize afterwards, to my knowledge, even when hundreds of people were calling him out for it. Even his own fans! Nice one, Simply Dad. You showed him. Everybody, give this man a round of applause and make some noise. Come on, let me hear it. Yeah, give it up for Simply Dad, everybody. Fucking hell, this guy, man. People seriously look up to this guy. So yeah, I feel no sympathy towards him. He deserves every last bit of those types of comments, excluding the ones that, tell him to kill himself and stuff like that. And major props to Scrubby for trying to handle this maturely, unlike Simply Dad, who claims that he's old, or at least has an old mindset, even though sometimes he acts like a man child. Because if that were me, man, I would have been all up like,
this guy, man, yo, shut your mouth, little boy!
It got to the point where, and I promise you, I can't make this up even if I tried, somebody wanted Pyrocynical to make a video on this man in his subreddit. Pyrocynical! And I'm just sitting back here watching all this unfold as a longtime lurker thinking, that's tough! But enough of all that. Wait, what were we talking about again? Oh yeah, Persona! Persona 3! Oh, that's right, I forgot! Remember when this video was about Persona 3? Yeah, what the hell is that game? Am I right, guys? Anyway, the moral of the story is, don't be like this guy, alright? Or even this guy, okay? Unless you're trolling or something, then I really don't care, which I'm 90% sure these guys aren't. Not only that, but let me end off with this as well. I guarantee you 100% that if I was criticizing a game review corporation like IGN for making the same type of video like Simply Dad's with really bad statements and points, you guys would have been clowning them, making memes, dislike bombing, and rating their comment section with long drawn out rants and snarky remarks. And don't even deny that statement, because you've seen it, I've seen it, we've all seen it firsthand. And y'all just want to keep white knighting this man for what? Because he makes vanilla, leafy, edgy humor and tries to act all savage on the internet? Yeah, for those who fall under this category, do yourself a favor by pressing the X button on the top right corner of your screen and fuck off. Well, that intro was way longer than I expected. I already used up 3 pages talking about all this. I'm also sorry that the video also got so intense when we're only a few minutes in. Well, that's just because that's all that's been on my mind for quite a long time, ever since I unfortunately discovered this channel as a lurker for YouTube content for as long as I can remember and uploaded my response video a while back. But enough stalling, let's finally get to what you've all been waiting for, from where we left off last time, and finally finish this once and for all. Hopefully. Eventually. Just kidding, this will be my last video criticizing him. Well, I actually have one more thing to say before we continue. Yeah, I know, but it's not about Simply Dad or his White Knights. This is actually about my last section from my previous video that I made about his. I just wanted to add the fact that I feel like one reason why people overlook the AI-controlled party combat in Persona 3 is because the enemy AI is literally just as stupid half of the time. The reason why I say this is because the enemy AI will still try to hit you or your ally with the same elemental move that you nullify or absorb, even when they try to hit you with the same type of move beforehand. This also goes for status ailments as well. If you are already inflicted with a certain status ailment, the enemy sometimes will try to inflict the same status ailment on you again for some reason as well. Well, that's all I wanted to say. Now back to what I would like to call Simply Dad Doesn't Understand Persona 3 Part 2, Giraffe Strikes Back. What? Oh, fuck you, I thought it was a good name. Stupid haters.
That shit is probably the most incorrect, stupid-ass assertion I ever did see about a video game since y'all motherfuckers try to tell me that this game is good. This game is good. This game is good.
This is no tall tale. They're usually the gentlest of giants. But it turns out there's one giraffe in the South African savannah who's willing to stick his neck out.
Ace Detective? Are you stupid or something? More like stupid faggot little
So the music in the game sucks. I'm not even gonna try to hide this one, bro. This shit sucks so badly. My big issue with the sound of Persona 3, on top of the fact that it just don't sound fucking good, is the fact that the songs play every single day.
Now I have to admit, Simply Dad does kind of have a point here, sort of. I mean, I love the Persona 3 soundtrack to death, but even I have to admit that some of the tracks get a bit repetitive, like Moon Reaching Out to Stars, even though I like that track, and the Social Link theme, even though there is another theme used for social links as well as some other tracks that are used for different occasions to help break the monotony. To the game's offense, you do different things each day that can also help break the monotony, like taking exams or going on vacations and other things. Overall, I think the next 2 games help facilitate this issue a lot.
Tartarus is even worse, with every single block being a variation on the same song. And honestly, I think this is the worst part of the soundtrack.
But I heavily disagree with this statement about the repetitiveness of tracks and shops in Tartarus. Shops because 1, you don't really go to the shop that often. 2, because, oh, what is this? Is this a video about Nocturne? You know, the game with only 1 track that plays when you go shopping? Gee, I wonder if he actually criticizes the game for having the same thing. He doesn't, alright? The video itself is on the internet. If you don't believe me, you can go look at it yourself. Just another reason along with the rest why so many people call him an SMT neckbeard. Next is Tartarus, and it's okay if he finds a track that's played when climbing a tower annoying because that's not the issue here. But I don't know if he knows this, but you can ask Fuka to change the track when you're climbing the tower at any time. And I know that within itself is a problem, which I understand, but at least mention the fact that that's a feature and stop pretending that it's not there just to make the game look bad.
My favorite things about any Megami Tensei game, Persona or SMT, is just how every single game greets you with a wide and vibrant soundtrack with a very clear direction that serves to enrich the world you're in. But this game just don't do that shit at all. I don't know how to be nice about it. It just fucking sucks.
I mean, the soundtrack kind of does sound appropriate for the setting that this game takes place, which is more modern and down to earth for the most part, compared to something like SMT, which has a more cinematic soundtrack since it's more appropriate there. It makes total sense that there would be both jazz and rap music as well as other genres that are embedded in our culture now due to this game's somber and slice of life tone, due to the fact that you could play these songs in a more casual setting compared to something like SMT. Now, whether it sounds good, that's up for debate.
Tartarus is even worse, with every single block being a variation on the same song. And honestly, I think this is the worst part of the soundtrack. Can't say the same shit about this game because the entire time it's just annoying.
Now this point is weird because if we look back at his SMT Nocturne video, he says,
the last one that really stuck with me was this motif that was shown to us at the start of the game during the intro title loop. The second one, not the first one. Aside from the fact that it obviously sounds nice, you'll notice the motif being used through nearly the entire game.
Then he goes on to say,
what I really enjoy is how each track uses the song differently though. A different feel, a different instrumentation, a different vibe every time you hear it.
Well, so do the themes of Tartarus as well. You may not like it, but if your reasoning keyword for disliking Tartarus's theme is because of that, then that's extremely odd, don't you think? Make that 2 reasons added to the list.
Y'all seem to have this assumption that since my biggest issue with the characters in Persona 4 was that the development was relegated to the optional social links, that I'd instantly fall in love with the characters in Persona 3 because they actually develop with the story. And I'm like, y'all ever played any other video game? Or read a book? Or watched a movie? Consumed literally any other piece of media? Characters are supposed to do this, and just because Persona 3 the only modern Persona game to develop the characters in the fucking story, it's not a point of praise for the game by any fucking means.
I mean, they didn't mean that as praise. They just said that they thought that you'll like it better due to the fact that the characters develop in the main story instead of just in the social links.
Junpei got it rough, man. A lot of people like to praise his relationship that's developed with Chidori throughout the plot, which I could kind of see the praise for, since the idea of a party member developing a relationship outside the cast that they can bounce off of is something that we don't see at all in modern Persona. But when you look back and realize that the whole crux of their story happens in literally 4 cutscenes of them awkwardly talking to each other with that staple awkward dialogue.
It's no big deal. I only draw because I like to.
Oh, yeah? Still, I'd like to see it when you're done, okay?
I mean, what was awkward about that? He just said that he wanted to see her drawing after she was done while he was walking away, and she just looks at him walking away while pondering something. It's weird because I kind of agree with the fact that some of the scenes are very awkward and are pretty unintentionally funny at times. But this is probably one of the worst examples that you could bring to the table.
But then this bitch literally kidnaps him and tries to force him into canceling Yell's operation. And we supposed to believe both of them still got any kind of feelings for each other?
I mean, not Chidori at first, but Junpei somewhat, since he obviously thought that he had a shy with her because he found her interesting and easy to talk to due to her quiet nature, since he doesn't really socialize with others that often, excluding his own teammates. Chidori didn't start falling for Junpei till afterwards, when she was in the hospital and Junpei kept interacting with her. There was even a hint in a cutscene in November where it was pointed out by Junpei that Chidori stopped cutting herself. They obviously have an attraction since they both find each other's philosophies interesting and are both polar opposites.
Like, Chidori flip-flops back and forth so much before her character is killed off. It's not done with any kind of decent pacing or grace, so it, like everything else in the game so far, comes off feeling real rushed and especially weird.
I mean, not really. After that whole fiasco of Junpei getting kidnapped, there was a plethora of scenes of just Junpei and Chidori just having casual conversations afterwards about random stuff like Chidori's perspective of death and Junpei's dreams and aspirations. Even when they stopped showing scenes of them interacting on the 12th of September till the 6th of November, it is still said in the game that Junpei still goes to visit Chidori in between that time period by Junpei talking about it occasionally. Not only that, but at least you get a cutscene of them interacting and talking about personal stuff in the same month. Before she gets killed, so it doesn't come out of nowhere and falls flat. There's even a scene a day before she fights the group on November 22nd where she even reveals her newfound internal conflicts about dying because she doesn't want to lose Junpei. So I think that their relationship was handled just fine, minus the part where they bring her back to life because Atlas are a bunch of pussies.
The game kind of does this where it shoves these deep and sad moments in front of your face and expects you to feel some type of way about it, but these things just aren't done real well at all.
I mean, with some things like with Mitsuru's dad, yeah, but scenes like with Shinji is one of the most praised moments in the series, along with the ending. This is due to the fact that we had more moments and memories with both Shinji and playing as Makoto interacting with other people, so we had a better connection with them both.
And again, the shitty voice acting and writing don't really help.
I was so focused on fighting that I didn't notice
So
anything
focused
else.
on being strong because at one point,
I was.
because at one point I wasn't strong enough, but now I wanted to be strong. But look, I'm not even strong enough.
Wait, listen to this. Listen to this.
Yeah, see? Now that's a good example.
Nice.
A lot of the female characters don't feel like shit either. Like, Yukari exists to flesh out Mitsuru's character.
While yes, you can say that Yukari is a plot device for Mitsuru's character development, that doesn't automatically make it a bad thing. She feels like a legit character with distinct characteristics and motives, and even falls within the game's themes of having to deal with death. Not only that, but just because somebody serves as a plot device, it doesn't automatically make them a bad character. Plot devices, if used correctly, can be used to move the plot forward. Yukari moves the plot forward by pressing Mitsuru for the truth about Tartarus and experiments that caused them.
Yukari exists to flesh out Mitsuru's character, and even then her character is a pretty basic, I want to atone for the actions of the people before me.
This is just straight up incorrect, but to give Simply Dad some credit, I can see why he would make that mistake, considering that the other side of her character is revealed in both the secret tapes and her social link, and also that they should have incorporated this more into the main plot, but didn't for some reason. But just because you didn't experience it doesn't mean that it isn't there, unless it's DLC and isn't in the original game. Another thing that I want to touch on is the fact that most characters in fiction fit into a certain trope or character archetype. The ones that stand out and are most memorable are the ones that put their own unique spin and take on the same trope or archetype. If you want a good example, look at Danganronpa, by the way. Okay, enough blowing Spike Chunsoft's penis for this video, unless I want it to end up like my previous one. Pretty much her character is that she's also a rich girl who isn't really familiar with middle-class customs, similar to someone like Sonia from Danganronpa 2. Okay, that's the last time, I swear. A character that is also reminiscent of Mitsuru in that aspect, along with some others, though I think it's safe to say that she kind of stole those characteristics, is Makoto Nijima. The reason why I say Mitsuru was Makoto before Makoto was cool was not just because it's kind of hilarious, but in some aspects it's kind of true. But it doesn't matter anyway. Mitsuru is way better than this abomination anyway. Mitsuru also has other things going on in her life, like with her future husband and stuff. Anyways, if you don't believe me, you can just look at her wiki page and her social link on YouTube to see more than just a I must fix my ancestors' mistakes character.
I want to atone for the actions of the people before me, which is literally the same as Yukari's character arc, except Yukari hates her parents, and then she doesn't hate her parents.
Not really. I can see how people can make that mistake, but Yukari's arc is not just cleaning up her father's mess, but also dealing with the fact that she was trying to hold on to the belief that her father was innocent due to a relationship that they had in the past, before realizing that he was just as in the wrong. Mitsuru, on the other hand, was well aware of her family's wrongdoings from the very start. They're kind of similar, which can be an issue, but overall have clear differences.
The social link system that Persona is known for is introduced in this game too. And I gotta say, it sure as hell feels like it's the first in the series, because goddamn, some of these stories are just real boring. But some of them, like the old couple who run the bookstore and the dying man Akinari, both serve the themes of the game real well and showcase the concept of death from different angles that we don't get to see in the story. And it's real nice. But then you get literal pieces of shit like this one with your teacher who you meet playing an online game, where she literally admits to you that she is an older woman who has interests in little boys and wants to abuse her power as a teacher to get closer with and seduce your character specifically.
I mean, it does sort of feed into the theme of the game, which is to enjoy making most of the moments that you have with someone or something before it's gone, which is related to death. This game's theme and message isn't just simply about death, you know? Just like how Persona 4 isn't just about happiness and how Persona 5 isn't just about rebellion, believe it or not. If we're talking about the social link minus the part about pedophilia, then it's a pretty solid social link if we're going by the logic that a good social link is one that feeds into the game's theme of death and the previously mentioned message of enjoying the time you have left. Sort of. It also kind of fits this game's miserable and depressing tone since Miss Toriumi is ranting in the game about the issues in her love life and her relationships with her co-workers and also the fact that she's an alcoholic. But other than that, and I can't believe I'm saying this, I have to agree with Simply Dad here. Unfortunately, in our society, and I believe popular Twitch streamer / debater Destiny talked about this before on the Raj Patel podcast, there is gender biases. For instance, if an older woman told a young boy that he was handsome, 90% of the time nobody would even bat an eye. But if the roles were reversed and a grown man called a little girl pretty or beautiful, 90% of the time will assume that he's a pedophile. There are other examples of this, but that's a whole different topic for another day. I'm 90% sure that if the female protag could date one of the male teachers or some other adult male like Tanaka, people would flip their shit more. Oh wait, I almost forgot. We already got the whole Ken fiasco, never mind. But I think the main reason why most people are more accepting of this is because the vast majority of people who play Persona are either adult or mid to late teen males and are into older women anyways. I have a couple of theories for the reason for the inclusion of older women options in Persona by the developers. My first theory is that I think Atlas knew that part of their main audience are male teenagers who most likely had the fantasy of hooking up with their teachers and other mature women, and more importantly, adult males who may feel uncomfortable dating teenagers, which is why they introduced females like Kawakami and Miss Toriumi and other older females to try to make it seem less awkward. The problem is that they essentially put themselves in a lose-lose situation because it's either make a game where you date other teenagers to make it awkward for a lot of people in your audience, I mean, hopefully, I hope that at least 99% of them aren't pedophiles, or make a teen date a mature woman and basically say it's okay for older women to prey on little boys without consequence. Secondly, it could be because that since Atlas is obviously a Japanese developer studio, their standards of age of consent is younger than ours. That doesn't make things okay. I was just saying some possible reasons why they implemented some of these elements into the game. God damn it, hurry up and say something dumb again so I don't have to agree with you. If you don't, then I'll be out of the job and people will start thinking that I'm a fraud.
There is both joy and wonder in coming.
I will give my best.
I heard that.
This walking plot device is introduced and does literally nothing for the month that he exists. Then he does more exposition dumping Again.
Oh, never mind. It didn't take that long to say something dumb. Once again, if we look back at the previous rules for an exposition dump, you can clearly see that the scene where Ryoji explains the coming of Nyx doesn't fit the criteria of being an exposition dump at all. Or bad exposition in general. I'm not going to explain that here. You could just go watch my previous video and the specific scene with Ryoji to see for yourself. Not only that, and somebody even pointed it out in his comment section, how the hell else would the group know about the coming of Nyx in the fall without that scene with Ryoji telling the group, since he's the only one who knows all the information?
This walking plot device is introduced and does literally nothing for the month that he exists. Then he does more exposition dumping. Again, with that horrible ass dialogue.
You're a shadow? I'm the embodiment of all shadows. The appriser.
The appriser?
The frightening truth about myself and shadows.
You know the truth about shadows?
The appriser.
You're the appriser?
I fell to Aigis.
Aigis? Ryoji, you're the appriser? None of this makes sense.
The maternal being is called Nyx.
Who the hell's Nyx?
All life will vanish.
All life will vanish?
You won't remember anything.
We'll forget everything?
Okay, stop doing that. Don't do that anymore. What Simply That just did was pull a civet. He pulled a civet and edited the video to fit his narrative. Here's the video unedited and without any cuts.
Ryoji-kun? Wait, what are you doing here? Aigis!
What's going on? It's all my fault.
Akihiko, wait. He's not showing any signs of aggression. Tell us, who are you? What are you?
I'm the same as the beings you call shadows.
You're a shadow?
I'm the embodiment of all shadows. The appriser, born from the union of the 12 arcana.
The appriser?
I remember everything now. The frightening truth about myself and shadows. It's all so hard to believe.
You know the truth about shadows?
Yes. Shadows are here to facilitate the rebirth of the maternal being. She will begin to awaken as she is drawn to me, the appriser.
You're the appriser?
What is this maternal being?
She is a great entity. There is no comparable word in your language for her. 10 years ago, a man collected a great number of shadows and contained them in a laboratory. That's where I was born. But the unification was interrupted, and I awoke in an incomplete state. Not long after, I fell to Aigis, as she did to me.
Aigis? Is that true, Ryoji?
She knew she could not defeat me. So in an act of desperation, she sealed me within a child who happened to be standing nearby. That child grew up, carrying me inside him. And by a twist of fate, he later returned here as a transfer student.
You mean...
Yes, I lived inside him. His special persona awakened, as did the 12 shadows, all in order to become one with me.
Ryoji, you're the appriser? And you were inside him? None of this makes sense.
I seriously don't see the issue with this scene. It's Ryoji trying to explain his existence, along with other important things to the plot, but the rest of the party doesn't know, which is why they're obviously confused and asking questions to get answers, like Mitsuru, who stopped the team from attacking because she wanted Ryoji to explain himself. It also helps his motives of letting the team know key information to help his goal of making the main character kill him, so that they can all die peacefully. If somebody knows the reason why, can you please tell me in the comment section, because I am genuinely confused about what's so bad about this scene.
Setting the tone is one thing. The game actually following up on that is another. And of course, the game drops the ball so fucking hard, bruh. The party barely interacts that much.
What? You know what? Okay.
And Aigis, man, I don't even know where to start with Aigis. She's introduced in the game during summer at the group trip to Yakushima Island. And for 90% of the game, she's obsessed with being around your main character. And it's explained later during that big-ass exposition dump that she did some weird shit and sealed death inside you when you were just a little kid 10 years ago when your parents died. And she's basically responsible for the entire plot of the game happening. And it's all just so stupidly convoluted, I don't think I can physically muster a bone in my body to care about it.
I mean, maybe to you, because maybe you weren't paying attention, but everybody else gets the plot, because it's pretty simple for a JRPG due to the fact that half of the focus is supposed to be used on social links, although not as simple as a plot like Persona 4. Oh lord, if he thinks this is convoluted, don't even make him touch Kingdom Hearts or Final Fantasy games in a general with a 10-foot pole. Oh wait, that's right, he doesn't like Final Fantasy. Never mind.
Since her entire backstory just got spilled, and since she has no real character of her own, she spends the last month of the game being a voice for the protagonist and basically just regurgitates the themes of the game.
That's not necessarily true. This line really confuses me. In what way is she the voice for the protagonist? Because she disagrees with him about killing Ryoji and isn't like a parakeet type of character like Daxter or something, so I'm confused.
And true to the game, Aigis probably has the worst case of awful voice direction out the entire cast, where she constantly goes back and forth between this stupid ass robot voice and speaking normally. And it gets real weird after the final boss.
The reason why the voice keeps flip-flopping between normal and robotic is because Aigis is a special AI that can actually summon a persona like a human, even though she is a robot, indicating that despite being a robot, she still has human traits. But then, why does Koromaru not talk or have a human voice? Well, that's because dogs can't talk, but robots actually can.
And it gets real weird after the final boss, which, by the way, not even worth mentioning, bruh. This is a 30-minute damage sponge with no challenge to offer and an automated instant win fight afterwards.
You know, this statement really does make me question if he really did play the game, because gameplay-wise, these final bosses are all different. For example, Nyx uses different arcanas with different notifications, while Yaldabaoth is literally different targets with different notifications and attacks with different effects, like the gun, the sword, and who can forget, the bell. Then there's Izanami, who just spams a lot of different shit.
But anyways, before the ending, Aigis just sits there on the rooftop with your main character who is literally dying while she's crying her ass off, again, regurgitating the themes of the game just in case you fucking didn't get it the first 6 times she talked about it.
Anybody who has actually played Persona 3 can tell you that that's not the case. Aigis brings up the theme of the game throughout the story because she was obviously developing internal conflicts about the meaning of life and death throughout the story. I mean, since she's a robot, if you couldn't tell. And her insecurities about her strength and the ability to protect the ones that she cares for, like Makoto, since she kind of screwed his life up. Until it is finally resolved in the speech at the end of the game. If you don't believe me, you can read her wiki page. In an attempt to make the game's ending look stupid, you in turn made yourself look like the dumbass.
And then you die, and then the game ends. Was that a little anticlimactic? Sorry, I don't know what you expected from me, bro. I stopped caring about this shit like 60 hours ago. The point of my videos were always been to disagree with and question the stupid ass common opinions I see and hear thrown around these games, because most of the time the shit you hear on the internet is either super misleading or just in some cases completely fucking wrong.
Oh, the irony.
I care because it's just not fucking good. And when this is from a company that knows how to turn otherwise generic tropes and flip it into something unique, I got a right to be mad, bruh.
I mean, you can hate Mono Persona all you want, but one thing that you have to admit is that it is unique. There aren't that many, if not any, that I know of, visual novel RPGs out there. So whether you like these games or not, I feel like you have to give them that.
And I'm sure in 2007, Persona 3 was just that. But now, every JRPG wants to be Persona with their social sim mechanics and anime girl dating sim type shit. The fact that we've been given better games with better plot lines, better characterization from Atlus, but Persona has continued to latch on to what was unique back in fucking 2007 to this day is telling of how dire the need for improvement and change is. I think no matter how much you like a game or a franchise, ignoring its faults is fucking stupid.
I'll say it once more. Oh, the irony.
Ultimately, what I really want to see is people starting to make their own opinions about shit, you know? Not just repeating shit y'all hear from others and accepting it as fact. I'm talking real, genuine, from the heart feelings about things that you like. You know, if I can pull up and talk shit about one of the most universally loved games amongst Megami Tensei fans.
Also, this game is not universally loved in the fan base, trust me. I would say that title goes more to Persona 5 if it were to be given to any game in the Persona fandom. So for this last take, I'm going to be doing this all in one recording. So just dismiss all of the stuttering that you hear and all that, that you hear in the recordings anyway, but it's going to probably be more frequent here. But I just want to end this video off with being real with you guys for a second. Minus the insults, the sarcasm, the personal bias, the subjectivity, the memes, all of that for this last session. First thing I would like to say is that there are legit people who enjoy Simply Dad's content, and if you do, that's perfectly fine. I don't think that he's the worst thing to happen to planet Earth since Al-Qaeda or something, and that we need to raise our pitchforks and fight him like he's the MPLA or whatever. I just really wanted to criticize this deeply flawed video of his. Even if I don't like him for reasons beyond his opinions on Persona 3 that were stated in the beginning of the video, that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to. The next thing that I also wanted to add was that I know that Simply Dad isn't an SMT neckbeard, okay? I got that from a reply to either his or somebody else's comment section and thought that was very funny and used it to poke fun at him for comedic values. I was no joke trying to look for it for about 3 days straight but couldn't find it for the life of me. I know that he likes other games other than SMT like Personas 1 and 2 and some other SMT spin-offs like Devil Survivor or Soul Hackers or whatever, those games that, you know, I've never actually touched. However, do I think that he's an elitist? To an extent, yes. Do I think that he's a toxic member of the SMT community? Most definitely. The reason why I poke fun at him and his content is just for entertainment value as well as sometimes implementing my own opinions as well. Is because this is my video, A. B, I enjoy the creative process more of making these videos. And C, personal biases. I mean, who am I kidding? I mean, look at the title. Simply Dad doesn't understand Persona 3. I mean, I don't know if he actually really understands this game for sure or not. He may just be trolling for all we know. If I wanted to make this as factual as possible without any of my own personal bias, I would name it something like The Factual Errors of Simply Dad's Persona 3 video, and that wouldn't be as exciting. Though if you're a fan of his and you're getting offended by me criticizing him and making fun of him, that's kind of hypocritical since he kind of did the same thing to Persona 3 fans as well as other YouTubers. But I'm gonna answer the elephant in the room. Why? Why create two 30 to 40 minute long videos about this YouTuber's opinions about some anime game from 2006? First of all, if you think the answer is clout chasing, you most likely still need to wear a pair of Huggies before you go to bed, because that is probably the most stupid take that you could possibly stand by. Trust me, if I really wanted clout, there are way more important things happening in the world right now as this video is released that I could be talking about instead of some random YouTuber's opinion about an anime game on the PS2 made by some third-party developers all the way back in 2006. No, the real reason why I made these videos in the first place, in our pretty both pretty long is because, number one, I need to elaborate my points and at least make them make sense on like someone I know, unless I get sidetracked or do some editing stuff or whatever, or clips from his video. It takes up like at least 35%. Number two would be misinformation. Whether Simply Dad realizes it or not, some people are going to look at his video that may, but most likely not have played Persona 3. They're going to look at some of his points and examples and adopt them into their own, which isn't totally his fault, I should add, except the part about constantly spreading errors all over his video and misinformation and just false statements. They're going to talk to another Persona fan in the fandom and say something really dumb that came from his video, and they're going to ask for some evidence or some physical proof like a normal human being. They're going to show them this video about Persona 3 and will most likely laugh at you, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. If you try to make most of the same arguments that Simply Dad did to a lot of people in the Persona fandom, they're most likely going to laugh at you, if I'm going to be completely honest, and not take you seriously, and you'll most likely embarrass yourself for reasons I stated in this video, in both videos. Sorry. And I'm no perfect god either. Like, I make plenty of mistakes in my videos as well, but the difference is I own up to them. And Simply Dad barely owns up to any, and he has legions of them, and not just this video, but many of his older ones, and others like the Persona 4 video and the Terrible Channels video that I discussed in the beginning. And the more I really thought about this whole video and just Simply Dad as a whole as well, I always came up to the same conclusion in my head about his video and his overall content. And it's that Simply Dad is a bad critic. I know that this statement is gonna most likely piss off a lot of his fans, but it's kind of true. As a human being, you know that everybody has their own separate opinions about different subjects and that everybody is entitled to them. However, when you make a whole occupation out of that and make yourself a public figure that does that for a living, there are a few things that you have to take into accountability. Like I said and foreshadowed at the beginning, when you are speaking to a large audience of individuals as a public speaker on any type of media, one of the main things that you have to accept is the fact that not everybody is going to agree with you. But what you're supposed to do is make people understand where you're coming from with solid evidence and arguments about why you have these certain opinions, so that even if they disagree with you, they can still respect your opinion. Think of some of your favorite reviewers or critics like Anthony Fantano, Joseph Anderson, or Some Call Me Johnny. Most of their fans disagree with at least some of their takes. Hell, that 6 out of 10 on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy still haunts some people to this day when he reviewed it twice. But guess what? While these people have their fair share of haters, they have way much more of something that Simply Dad barely has, and that is respect, which Simply Dad barely has because most of the people that watch him don't even like him. These reviewers are held to a higher standard because they can create constructive criticism of whatever product that they are criticizing or reviewing, and even correct a few mistakes that they make here and there. So what separates a Simply Dad from somebody like Anthony Fantano or a Joseph Anderson, or even a Some Call Me Johnny, is that these people actually know what the fuck they're talking about. Simply Dad, on the other hand, doesn't really know what the fuck he's talking about for reasons that I explained in both videos, which is why most people don't respect him. While I admit some of my criticism of his videos were my own subjective takes, things like all the stuff about Aigis and Mitsuru, very clear and obvious biases towards SMT, the exposition dumps. Like, seriously, I'm still in school and just turned 17 a couple of days ago as of the time that this video is most likely going to be released, and I could even tell that those scenes that he presented weren't exposition dumps. And I know for a fact that he's several years older than me, and this is not even something you learn in high school. This is a middle school standard. The fact that he gets stuff like this incorrect is embarrassing as well as sad, and makes me pretty concerned for our educational system, not gonna lie. Like, if I were to put Simply Dad in a tier list with other reviewers and critics, he would not be up there with the others due to the fact that he makes half-assed arguments when he even makes them in the first place to prove his point. He would only be one tier above IGN at the bottom. Why not in the same tier? Because at least with Simply Dad, he seems like an actual genuine person that you could relate to. A piece of shit person in my opinion, but a person regardless. IGN is just a bunch of English office workers whose most likely only experience video games is probably Wii Sports or Mario Kart on the Wii U that just came to pick up a game to play it for about 6 hours and make a shitty, uneducated review just for a paycheck. But minus that, Simply Dad would literally be in the same tier as IGN to me. I mean, just think about it. Obvious biases, bad examples to substantiate your points, spreading misinformation. These are the same things that people complain about with IGN. Just replace SMT with Call of Duty for biases with Simply Dad, and you've almost made a complete replica. Minus, the jokes, the edgy jokes. Who could forget those? He should literally just change his bio to IGN Human Incarnate, because he's literally just like them. Honestly, he should apply. The only reason why people are more accepting of him compared to IGN is because who do gamers relate to more? Be honest. Some self-proclaimed highly intellectual normies that work in a money-grabbing corporation similar to EA and most likely barely even touches games, or some edgy YouTuber online that just has a YouTube channel with no corporation behind them pulling the strings. I'll let you figure that one out. You know what's so funny? He recently made a video at the time of this recording called Why I Love Shin Megami Tensei, I don't know what the fuck happened there, that unsurprisingly flopped and didn't really do that well compared to his other videos. Then he's all like, oh man, it sucks that my video flopped. And I'm just thinking, well, of course it did. You literally suck off most of those games every time you get the chance when talking about other games. We already know from your other videos what you love about Shin Megami Tensei. So what other things could you possibly say in this video that most likely hasn't been said in other videos? Which leads me to my theory that has been lurking in the back of my head for a while now. I think, keyword think, which means I don't know for sure. The main reason why Simply Dad doesn't like modern Persona as well as other games like Final Fantasy VII and some others is because they're popular. I think that Simply Dad is one of those people that other SMT YouTuber Fither describes in one of his videos about contrarians that just hate things because they're popular and successful. Now that I think about it, my feelings towards Simply Dad's video can be summed up by Fither's video about Persona 4 not doing anything wrong. Just replace Persona 4 with Persona 3 and there you go. My main evidence to back up this theory is the obvious bias that Simply Dad has towards SMT when compared to games like Persona that I showed in this video, and also phrases like don't let anybody force you to have an opinion about a game. But I could be wrong, who knows? This isn't, once again, this is just a theory. What I do know is that the reason why I say that Simply Dad doesn't understand Persona 3 is not because I don't like him. It's not because most people in the community don't like him, or even his past toxicity. It's because at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, he makes really bad and half-assed arguments most of the time that makes many people who are also fans of the game think, this guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. Which are signs of a bad critic. Good entertainer? Debatable. But when it comes to making constructive criticism, Simply Dad is awful at it. You don't come to Simply Dad for constructive criticism. He's dog shit. Terrible. Every synonym that you could use in the English dictionary to describe his critiquing skills that also means bad can be applied here. Some of his fans say that he still has an opportunity to get better at it or whatever, which is true. But I honestly don't think we'll see him improve in the future due to his non-caring attitude and his ego. Then he says that we keep accepting bad games because we love Atlas or Persona and keep buying their content. You know what? Let me give you guys a hypothetical. Let's say that magically in some alternate universe, because Atlas doesn't get two shits what their fans want, they do their own thing. Yeah, you guys keep thinking that they're gonna make another Raito game. You guys keep dreaming. Atlas wanted to get some criticism or reception of their last game from their fans back in 2006 when this game released for how they should carry out their next game. Then they choose to look at only Simply Dad's video to use as criticism. A spokesperson for all the problems of Persona 3. They definitely wouldn't listen to him, and not because they're, Atlas, but because they most likely assume that he's a troll or somebody who's barely picked up the game, or just a little child, because I know that was my first impression and many others when watching his video. If that was the only video on Simply Dad's channel, and I had no knowledge of him prior, I would definitely not even take this video seriously because not even I would listen to you. So yeah, it is what it is, I guess. So what's my final verdict on Simply Dad's video on Persona 3? I'll give it a strong 5 to a light 6. No, I'm kidding. It's not good. But I'm pretty sure at least half of you guys watching this knew that already, so I'm beating a dead horse. But hey, what do I do now? Oh, I read that wrong. Yes, I am reading a script, by the way. It says, what do I know? But hey, what do I know? I'm just some angry Persona fanboy on the internet. Who knows what video I'll make in the future. Hopefully something different. Or what's even next for my channel, to be honest. I might just become a lurker again. Anyways, this has been your dose of Giraffe Boy defeating other YouTubers with facts and logic. And I'll see you next time on Dragon Ball Z.
I know that people's perception of things is based far more on general opinion than it is like what they really think, you know. It is actually impossible to play Final Fantasy VII or Ocarina of Time and not have the 100,000 thoughts of this game sucks, no it's still a masterpiece, no it's overrated, don't even play it.
Actually, I have one more thing to say before I leave, since I know for a fact that Simply Dad is most likely watching this. And that's that SMT is dog shit.